The royal family is in shock. A twist no one saw coming has just shaken the palace to its core. The quiet and often overlooked James, Earl of Wessex, has stepped out from the shadows and into the royal spotlight with a jaw-dropping announcement. After years of being shielded from cameras and the chaos of public life, James has now accepted a new HRH title, officially making him a prince of the realm. But this isn't just a title change. It's a bold power move that could reshape the entire future of the monarchy. So why now? And what's really behind this sudden transformation? The answer might surprise everyone. A young royal stands on the edge of destiny, rewriting his family's story in real time. For generations, the British royal family has captivated the world with its glittering crowns, grand palaces, and unshakable traditions. Yet beyond all the pomp lies something far juicier: the human drama. The constant tug-of-war between royal duty and personal freedom keeps the world endlessly hooked. Usually, all eyes are fixed on King Charles, Prince William, or Princess Catherine, the stars of every royal headline. But this time, someone unexpected is stealing the scene. James, Earl of Wessex. Unlike his high-profile relatives, James grew up far from the glare of tabloids. No scandals, no spotlight. Until now, his quiet rise into the public eye feels like a breath of fresh air. In a monarchy often burdened by drama and expectation, at just 17, James might seem like a typical teen, but make no mistake, his next move could change royal history forever. Like any boy his age, James spends his days focused on school, exams, and preparing for university life, taking those first real steps toward adulthood. To the outside world, his life appears peaceful, even ordinary, untouched by the chaos and media frenzy that have surrounded his cousins, Princes William and Harry, since birth. But beneath that calm surface lies a truth far more powerful. James's reality is anything but ordinary. Behind palace walls, a monumental choice awaits him, one that could reshape not just his own destiny, but the entire future of the royal family. It's a decision no teenager should ever have to make. Yet here he stands, caught between two worlds. Will he step up as a working royal, devoting his life to duty, tradition, and the relentless glare of the world's cameras? Or will he take the quieter path, choosing privacy, freedom, and independence, living as close to normal as a grandson of Queen Elizabeth II possibly can? What a crossroads. And here's where it gets even more dramatic. With King Charles III pushing for a slimmed-down monarchy, every royal's role now matters more than ever. The institution depends on a tight circle of dedicated family members to uphold its duties. And James's decision could tip the balance. If he steps into public life, he could ease the strain on senior royals, bringing fresh energy and youthful strength to the crown. But if he turns away, that pressure only grows heavier, potentially exposing cracks in Charles's modern royal vision. It's astonishing to think that the monarchy's future might partly rest on the shoulders of this quiet, 17-year-old royal, a teenager standing at the threshold of history. Will James answer the crown's call or quietly step away from it all? The question looms large as he faces one of the most crucial crossroads of his young life right now. James stands caught between two worlds, the weight of royal duty on one side, and the pull of personal freedom on the other. What comes next could define not just his own future, but how the world views the next generation of royals. James, Earl of Wessex, the youngest child of Prince Edward and Duchess Sophie, is standing on the edge of a massive life shift. At only 17, with his 18th birthday fast approaching this December, he's stepping closer to full adulthood and further away from the safety of his family's protective circle. His sister, Lady Louise Windsor, has already taken that leap, studying in Scotland, and now all eyes are on whether her younger brother will soon follow her lead, currently completing his A-levels at Bradfield College. James is preparing for what could be a monumental change. Heading off to university next year wouldn't just mark another academic step. It would signal the beginning of true independence for the young royal. But here's where it gets interesting. For royals, going away to university has never been just about books and exams. It's a centuries-old tradition, and a subtle rite of passage. Beyond the classrooms and lectures, university life gives royals something incredibly rare: the taste of normal life. It's their chance to blend in, build friendships, and experience the world beyond palace walls. away from the polished perfection of royal protocol. They get to laugh, make mistakes, and discover who they truly are. These experiences shape them far beyond their education, teaching lessons that no royal tutor ever could dot. As James prepares to take that next bold step, one thing is clear: this quiet prince is on the brink of a transformation that could define his entire royal story. Yet, even as whispers grow louder about James's next big move, the palace remains silent. And that silence speaks volumes. Every detail about his future is locked behind royal doors, sparking even more curiosity. According to royal correspondent Danielle Stacy, this secrecy isn't accidental, it's completely deliberate. Unlike the senior royals, who've lived under constant cameras and headlines, James and his sister, Lady Louise, were carefully raised away from chaos. Thanks to the smart and protective parenting of Prince Edward and Duchess Sophie from the very beginning. The Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh made one thing clear: their children deserved a childhood untouched by fame's madness. They shielded them from blinding flashes, gossip columns, and endless scrutiny that have defined the lives of William and Harry. Because of this quiet protection, fans shouldn't expect flashy royal statements or dramatic early announcements about James's education or future. His path is his own to decide, and he's earned that right. Still, if royal history has taught us anything, it's that clues are always hidden in the past. Many young royals before James took a gap year after finishing school, using that time to travel, explore, and gain real-world experience before the heavy duties of royal life set in. It's a rare window of freedom, a chance to see the world beyond palace gates, meet people from all walks of life, and discover who they are outside their titles. If James chooses this route, it could be his first taste of true independence, and the calm before a future that might just pull him right back into the royal spotlight. If he does, it wouldn't be surprising if he quietly slipped away abroad for a while, soaking in life outside the palace bubble while carefully avoiding the media glare. That time away could give him space to breathe, reflect, and prepare for what's coming next. Experience, that's what James needs before stepping fully into university life. And when that time comes, royal tradition suggests he might choose a campus outside London, somewhere he can blend in, live more freely, and enjoy a genuine student experience without royal formality hovering over his every move. No matter which path he takes, one thing is absolutely certain: the next year will be a turning point for James. This is when he begins carving out his own identity, not just as the grandson of Queen Elizabeth II, but as a young man discovering who he truly is, both inside and beyond the royal circle. But here's the burning question: why does the monarchy need James now more than ever? What's driving this sudden urgency to draw him closer into the fold? The answer takes us straight to the heart of the crown itself. To truly understand the weight of James's decision, we need to rewind a bit back to the moment King Charles III took the throne in 2022. From the very start, his vision was crystal clear. He wanted a slimmed-down monarchy, a modern, streamlined royal family that felt relatable, cost-efficient, and closer to the people. It was a bold move, and one that came with huge risks. Now, with senior royals aging and others stepping back from duty, the crown is under real pressure. The palace can't afford to lose more working royals, which makes James's next move more crucial than anyone ever expected. And that's where things start to get messy. King Charles's vision of a slimmed-down monarchy looked perfect on paper: efficient, modern, and budget-friendly. But in reality, it's become a royal balancing act that's getting harder to sustain. The idea was simple: trim the excess, cut unnecessary costs, and rely on a small, tight-knit group of royals to represent the crown. With grace and dignity, it all sounded noble and refreshing until the cracks began to show. Behind palace gates, those sovereign risks, the same kind businesses and investors fear, began hitting the monarchy hard. The roster of working royals started shrinking fast. Some stepped back, others were quietly pushed aside, and those who remained found themselves overwhelmed by the relentless pace of royal life. Prince Andrew's fall from grace, after his damaging controversies, left a hole that may never truly heal. Then came the bombshell exit of Prince Harry and Meghan, stripping away another key layer of royal strength and global appeal. Even Princess Anne, one of the hardest-working royals alive, can only do so much. There are too many causes, too many events, and not enough hands to handle them all. Now, the pressure is visible and growing by the day. Royal engagements are piling up at record speed, and charities are desperately pleading for royal patrons to keep their missions alive and in the public eye. The British people still expect their royals to be out there shaking hands, showing up, and symbolizing unity. But the truth is, the royal team is running dangerously thin. That's why bringing James closer into the fold isn't just symbolic. It could be the monarchy's lifeline. What once looked like a sleek, modern institution now appears fragile, maybe even on the edge of breaking. The elegant image of a streamlined royal machine has started to crack, revealing an institution stretched thin and running out of strength. And right at the center of this growing tension stands Prince William, the heir, who knows he can't ignore what's happening. Unlike his father, King Charles, William seems to understand the urgency. He sees that without new energy, new faces, and a broader support system, the royal engine could grind to a halt. The workload is immense, the expectations sky-high, and burnout among the few remaining working royals has become a real threat. That's why William's focus has quietly shifted toward the younger generation, those who've lived quieter, drama-free lives, safely tucked away from the blinding spotlight. And at the center of that new attention, Lady Louise Windsor and her younger brother, James, Earl of Wessex, their parents, Prince Edward and Duchess Sophie, have long been the unsung backbone of the modern monarchy. No scandals, no drama, just steady dedication and loyalty. They've stepped in whenever the family faced crisis, handling duties with humility and grace. They represent everything the crown wants to embody: reliability, modesty, and quiet strength. If their children were to step up, they could bring exactly what the monarchy desperately needs: a breath of youthful credibility. But time is running short. Lady Louise has already hinted she prefers life on her own terms, choosing independence over royal duty. And that leaves James, still just a teenager, standing alone at the crossroads of destiny. His next move could determine not only his future, but also the strength and survival of the royal family itself. The crown's need for James has never been more urgent, and the choice he faces now could carry consequences far beyond anything he's ever imagined. With the monarchy's future hanging in a delicate balance, all eyes are turning toward him. But how much of his decision will be shaped by his sister, Lady Louise Windsor, the young woman who already made her stance clear? Could her quiet rejection of royal life push James to follow her lead, or to do the exact opposite? Let's dive into how Louise's choice might just tip the scales for her younger brother. Lady Louise Windsor, James's elder sister, has become one of the most quietly fascinating figures in the modern royal story. She stands as a symbol of independence in a family built on duty and tradition. When she turned 18, she had every right to style herself as Her Royal Highness Princess Louise. With that one simple decision, she could have stepped into a world of power, luxury, and prestige where every move came with influence and admiration. That single choice would have opened doors to royal privilege and lifelong recognition across the globe. But in a move that shocked many royal watchers, Louise gracefully turned her back on the title. Instead of chasing status, she chose peace, a life away from palace Prussia and public glare. It was a quiet rebellion, done without noise or defiance, but it spoke volumes. Her refusal wasn't just personal, it was a statement. She proved that being royal doesn't have to mean surrendering your freedom, and now, with the monarchy calling on James, her decision looms larger than ever, casting a long, emotional shadow over his next move. Instead of stepping into the royal spotlight, Lady Louise Windsor made a bold and deliberate choice. She chose freedom. Rather than embracing the glittering crown, she decided to remain known simply as Lady Louise Windsor, untouched by the weight of royal expectation. Today, she's studying English at the University of St. Andrews in Scotland, the very same place where Prince William and Catherine Middleton's legendary love story began. But make no mistake, Louise's choice wasn't about hiding from attention. It was about defining who she truly is. Many had assumed she'd naturally followed the family path, but instead, Lady Louise surprised everyone by showing interest in careers far beyond the palace gates, in fields like the military, diplomacy, or even law. These aren't just career choices. They're powerful statements of intent. They reveal her determination to live life on her own terms, free from the scripted roles and expectations of royal life. Still, her independence sent emotional ripples through the palace walls. For Prince William, her refusal reportedly carried a quiet sting of disappointment. With the monarchy under enormous pressure to modernize and stay relevant, William had seen Louise as the perfect addition, intelligent, graceful, and effortlessly relatable. She had the charm to connect with the public, and the class to uphold the royal image. Her choice not to step up left a noticeable gap, one that only deepened the crown's growing urgency to find its next young face of stability. And now, that pressure falls squarely on James's shoulders. Her presence could have lightened the load on senior royals and offered the public a fresh, relatable face for the monarchy. But Louise's decision firmly closed that door, and here lies the ripple effect. By stepping back, Louise has inadvertently shifted the weight of expectation onto her younger brother, James. Without her to share the spotlight or the responsibilities, James is no longer simply the quiet second child of Edward and Sophie. He has suddenly become the monarchy's next great hope, the young royal, who might carry the torch forward. If Louise had chosen differently, James might have remained in the background, free to live a peaceful life away from cameras and headlines. But her independence changed everything. Now, every decision James makes carries a deeper meaning, no longer just personal, but profoundly symbolic. Will he accept the call to royal duty? Or will he, like his sister, quietly retreat into a private life of freedom and choice? Let's look briefly at the two roads before James as his 18th birthday approaches. James stands at a life-altering crossroads, one that could shape not only his destiny, but also the monarchy's future. He must decide whether to live privately or step into the royal spotlight by accepting Prince William's invitation to become a working royal. That path would thrust him into a life of constant public duties, ceremonies, charity work, and international visits, all while demanding the sacrifice of his privacy and personal freedom. Every gesture, every word would be watched, judged, and recorded. Yet there is power in this path. With his quiet confidence and modern outlook, James could breathe new life into the monarchy, becoming the face of a younger generation that proves tradition and progress can coexist. His involvement would also bring much-needed relief to senior royals who are increasingly stretched thin. Under the weight of duty, James's decision, whether yes or no, isn't just about him. It's a choice that could echo far beyond his 18th birthday, shaping the monarchy's trajectory in ways no one can yet predict. To truly grasp the weight of this moment, we must look back to a decision made years ago by his father, Prince Edward, a royal life without the burden of HRH. When Prince Edward, the youngest son of Queen Elizabeth II, married Sophie Jones in June 1999. The couple quietly set a new precedent within the royal family. With the Queen's blessing, they made a bold choice about their future children, one that would redefine what royal upbringing could mean, rather than granting them the traditional styles of his or her Royal Highness. Edward and Sophie chose a simpler path. Their children would not be raised as prince or princess, but instead hold the courtesy titles of an earl's offspring. It was a deliberate move, one meant to free their family from the weight of expectation, the glare of protocol, and the rigid formality that had long defined palace life. They wanted their children to grow up not in the shadow of crowns, but in the light of normality. And so, when their son James was born, he entered the world not as a prince, but as Viscount Severin, the courtesy title linked to his father's earldom, for years. James lived quietly under that name, far from the daily frenzy of royal headlines, but in the royal family, titles are never truly still. They evolve, and sometimes they return with more significance than anyone ever imagined. They have them and can decide to use them from 18, but it's highly unlikely. Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, once said words that painted a striking picture of modern royalty, a family not preparing their children for a lifetime of palaces and privilege, but for independence, for careers and identities shaped by choice, not by crown. For James and his sister, Lady Louise Windsor, this approach created something rare, a balanced upbringing. They attended regular schools, mingled with friends beyond royal circles, and lived lives that, for the most part, resembled those of ordinary young Britons. This wasn't accidental. It reflected a broader evolution within the monarchy, a quiet recalibration designed to meet the expectations of a new century, a monarchy that must learn to feel human again, and for James, now Earl of Wessex, that balance between noble heritage and grounded normality has defined his life. He stands as one of the few royals who truly bridge both worlds, the grandeur of the past and the realism of the present. But, as he nears adulthood, that delicate balance begins to tremble. What will James's answer be? Will he step forward and embrace royal duty, or protect the freedom his parents worked so carefully to give him? The truth is, his decision carries weight far beyond his years, and all signs now point toward one possibility: his acceptance. Despite the enormity of the task and his tender age, the monarchy's future may soon rest in his hands, and as the world watches, one thing becomes clear: the future of the crown itself hangs delicately in the balance. James, Earl of Wessex, may stand only 16th in line to the British throne. Yet the decision before him carries a weight far greater than his place in succession suggests. What might seem like a simple personal choice for a young man on the edge of adulthood is, in truth, a mirror reflecting one of the monarchy's most profound questions. What role should royalty play in the modern world? In an era defined by democracy, individuality, and personal freedom, the age-old expectations of lifelong duty and sacrifice to the crown feel increasingly out of step with modern values. For centuries, the monarchy's strength has rested on tradition, an unbroken line of service where younger royals stepped forward as living symbols of continuity, loyalty, and national pride. But the world has shifted. The social contract between crown and country is changing. The question now is no longer simply about service, it's about purpose. Today, many argue that royal blood should no longer be a lifelong sentence of duty, that birthright should not automatically mean surrendering one's personal dreams or ambitions. Instead, each prince and princess, they say, should have the freedom to choose to serve, or to step away and live quietly as private citizens. Now, James stands at the very heart of that debate. His situation is made even more complex by a division that runs deep within the monarchy itself. King Charles III, steadfast, traditional, and deeply rooted in royal heritage, envisions a slimmed yet visibly active royal family, one that remains ever present in public life as a symbol of continuity. His son, Prince William, sees the future differently. His model trims the monarchy even further: fewer working royals, fewer public faces, but far greater expectations placed upon those who remain. And caught between these two visions stands James, Earl of Wessex, a young man on the brink of adulthood, forced to choose not just his path, but perhaps the very shape of the monarchy's next chapter. Should he walk the well-worn path of duty, or follow the less predictable road of personal freedom? Interestingly, his older sister, Lady Louise Windsor, has already chosen the latter. She's stepped quietly into a private life, away from flashing cameras and relentless headlines. Her decision, though respected, has left James under even greater pressure. The monarchy, still recovering from years of controversy and transition, now waits anxiously for his answer. Across Europe, royal families in Denmark, Sweden, and Spain have embraced change. Younger royals there have been allowed to live ordinary lives, pursuing careers, passions, and families without the heavy chain of royal duty. But Britain's monarchy is different. Its influence stretches far beyond its borders. Every decision, even one made by a royal as far down the line as James, becomes a matter of global attention, and as his 18th birthday draws near, speculation only grows louder. Will James step forward and take on the duties of a working royal, standing beside his parents and cousins as a symbol of continuity, or will he quietly step aside, following in his sister's footsteps, choosing independence over tradition? Whatever he decides will define not only his own life, but perhaps the future tone of the monarchy itself. Will it remain an institution anchored in centuries of tradition, or evolve into something freer, more human, and more in tune with the spirit of our age? The world now waits for James's choice: tradition or independence, duty or freedom. His answer may be personal, but its echo will be heard far beyond palace walls. So, what do you think convinced James to accept the offer, despite the weight of responsibility and his young age? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more royal stories that reveal the truth behind the crown.